Hello, today we're going to talk about Lesson 31. Lesson 31 has to do with reading and writing decimal numbers. And for those of you who may have tried to listen to this lecture earlier, you will find out that this one actually does have sound. Apparently, I didn't have the sound on this morning earlier when I recorded it, so this one does have sound. When we're talking about decimal numbers, we inevitably start talking about fractions. And fractions are the beginnings of decimal numbers, I guess. When we have a fraction, we have a numerator and a denominator. And the denominator is always the number of equal parts the whole is divided into. When you model a problem, you want to divide your model into the number of parts that is in the denominator of the fraction. Now, if you were to read this fraction out loud, it would say 7/10. That is 7/10. It's 7 over 10, 7/10. If you wrote 7/10 as a decimal, if you look down here, you will see it as 0.7, and you would also read it as 7/10. Now, if we were to draw a model for 7/10, it would look like this. You would have a block or whatever you want to divided into 10 parts, and then you would color 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, and it also represents 7/10. Okay, well that wasn't too bad to talk about. Now, what happens when we have bigger numbers than like 7/10? What do we do with those bigger numbers? Well, if we had a number like this fraction right here, it is 4 and 17 over 100. Okay, if we were to write that as a decimal, we would write it as 4.17, and they are read as 4 and 17 hundredths. The THS on the end is imperative. You must have it. Once you move to decimal land, which is what you do when you put the and there, then you must put the THS that implies it is not a whole. It's a part of a whole, just like a fraction is part of a whole. Okay, a model for 4 and 17 hundredths would show 4 whole boxes and a fifth box divided into 100 smaller boxes with 17 of those smaller boxes shaded. Okay, now we're going to talk just a little bit about place value. In the number 3.672986, what digit occupies the thousandths? Notice the THS place. Well, if you look at this, you would see tenths, hundredths, thousandths. There you go. There's your thousandths, and 2 occupies the thousandths place. Now let's go over these again. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths, 100 thousandths, and millionths. All of those would have the THS on the end. Number 2, here this little question, what is the place value of the 8? Okay, go back and look at it again. Tenths, hundredths, thousandths, 10 thousandths, 100 thousandths. Yes, that is correct. It is the 100 thousandths. Okay, lastly, I would like to see us be able to take a number that's really, really big and still be able to write it as a fraction. So when we read this number out loud, we read it out loud as 31,129 and 623 tens, hundreds, thousandths, 623 thousandths. To write it as a fraction, we would write 31,129. That's our whole number. And then our fraction of a number is 623 over 1,000. Now, take the very, very same fraction and write it using words. Okay, that would be 31,000. You could put a hyphen in there, comma, 129, and that's where that decimal goes, 623 thousandths. Again with the THS. With the THS. Okay, last thing I want to talk about. Use digits to write the following. 64 thousandths. Now, that can be a little tricky because when you look at decimal numbers here, you have tenths, hundredths, and then you have thousands. Now the thousands is where this number has to end. So the 4 must go here. And then the 6 then would have to go here. Unfortunately, a lot of people get confused on this and they forget to put a 0 here for a placeholder. So this is 64 thousandths. The last number has to land in whatever the place value is that you're trying to write it to. Okay? All right. And then the last one here is 116,473 and 36 hundredths. And of course I have it right down here. This is 116,473 and 36 hundredths. Hundredths is just the second decimal place, and therefore that 36 has to end there. Well, I hope this was helpful, and I hope having noise with it or having my voice was a lot more helpful than listening to it silently. Have a great day and talk to you later.